y'all? What's up? What's up? What's up? First of all, I want to thank you guys for coming out to Agenda Emerge, and this talk that we're gonna do is an inspirational talk. It's based on somebody who I looked up to in the game, who I've got a lot of cues from in this game, and you know, if you're in this room, it's because you're a part of a culture, and this is one of the beacons of that culture. So. You know, I'm honored that Agenda had me here to moderate and to talk to somebody who's such a big influence, excuse me, in the culture. And you know, throughout my time in the industry, I've always looked to Ben as kind of like a guideline of what to do and what not to do in the industry. He's been successful in so many different areas. So you know, without further ado, let's introduce Ben Ball. Let's get a round of applause. You gotta give him a little time. He has a lot of jewelry on. So. What's up, my brother?
I'm old, bro. I'm old, man. I'm old.
It's all good.
You know what I'm saying?
How you feeling today, man?
I'm all right, man. You know, if you guys don't know, my wife is we're expecting our third baby right now, so it could happen actually any day now. So I've been a little bit on edge, and when I say any day, I'm talking about she's feeling contractions a little bit this morning, so it could happen today. But it's all good. You know, this is something I wanted to do, so we here. I'm good. That's basically my main focus. But the next is to let people know, you know.
Man, so you know, first of all, we appreciate you coming, being a part of this, because you know, one of the things people don't get to see about you, you know, people know you've been around for so long, is the wealth of knowledge you recruit doing all of this, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people know you for the jewelry, you know, the new business ventures, all your celebrity connections, but people don't know your backstory as well. And you've kind of persevered through a lot of things in this industry, and you've also done something that a lot of people haven't been able to do, which is kind of cross genres, right? You've been in fashion, you've been in music. So, you know, the first thing I want to start is just give me a little bit about your background. You know, I know one of my favorite things about you is how much you represent the Korean culture, right? You're a beacon for them, but you're very, very, what they would call, you know, urban, you know? And I think that coming from where I come from, you know, do you see this picture that's up there?
That's kindergarten, man.
Yeah, I love that you're in tune with who you are. You know, me being Colombian, I was raised in Brooklyn, so it was, you know, it's harder for us. It's a little bit harder being outside of the box. So, you know, give me a little bit about, you know, you coming over and where you were born and kind of where you grew up.
So yeah, you know, I was born and raised in Los Angeles. I was born and raised in Koreatown. I'm the youngest out of three kids. My brother is almost 10 years older than me. My sister's 8 years older than me. So like, growing up in Koreatown is one thing. Back 1973, I'm old, right? So my mom was like the second or third Korean American business owner in the city of Los Angeles. Wow. This is back in the day. So she came here with about $285. My dad, I think, had about $200. And this is like in the 70s. My brother was born in Korea. They came here, and my parents were broke as fuck. Excuse my language if you guys, there's some kids in here. So pretty much, you know, my mom was so poor that when my sister was born, my dad was working, she went to the hospital, left my brother, who was like 4 years old, in the car. You know, you can't do that now, but this is how it is. Left my brother in the car, and it was hot outside. And my mom went in there to go give birth to my sister.
Wow.
She had came out the hospital like maybe 15, 16 hours later. My brother was in there, you know, just eating, like, it was a bag of ramen, but it's like this, you can't cook it in there, so you're just eating it like it's like, you know, like chips or something, right?
Wow.
And so like, you know, she didn't even have time to stay there when they're like, hey, you should really stay here, but we couldn't afford to stay in the hospital that long.
Right.
And then on top of that, we were living but my parents were living in a garage in a city called Pomona. And no offense,
anybody from Pomona? Any Pomonians?
Pomona's is still kind of a fucked up area.
I've been there, yeah.
It's not like ain't nothing lit over there, you know. I mean, the people are cool. So, you know, when I was born, we had moved more into the city, and Koreatown was like a small area. And you know, Koreatown was mostly Mexicans, it was mostly Latinos. There were some Korean people there, even though a lot of Korean businesses were there. Korean people didn't live there.
Okay.
So it was a lot of gang shooting, all kinds of things.
And you grew up right in the thick of all that energy.
Yeah, all the like 5 different major gangs and stuff.
How did your parents create a business? You said they were business owners.
So they weren't business owners. So my dad was studying to go to school.
Okay.
And my mom, she had a sewing machine business inside the garage, a little place, a little shack that we lived in. Well, they lived in Pomona.
Right.
And eventually, she had 2 machines, then she had 3 machines, then she had 5 machines. And the crazy story about this whole shit is, my mom put the sewing machine in the hand of the people from Forever 21, this multi-billion-dollar company.
What?
My mom put the sewing machine in the people that are making Lucky Jeans and True Religion. And my mom was working at a company, there was this company called Cherokee. I think they're still around, they got at Target and shit.
Yeah.
My mom was contracting dresses and she was hustling. And at a certain point, she had an entire factory. So, I was born into, I basically grew up.
Entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah, my mom was a hustler. She had not necessarily talent, she just had hard work. Back then, hard work would get you there.
Right.
Now you kind of got to be smart, you feel me?
Or have a good network.
Yeah, so she was a dress contractor, in downtown LA, and it was fucked up over there. Back in the day, the Night Stalker, Rich Ramirez was around. It was crazy going on there. So, my mom, she just worked real hard to put everything. Education was big in Korean families.
Right.
And I hated education.
Okay.
And on top of that, my dad was a pastor in a church, and I hated church.
Right.
So having to go to church every single week, I would make up excuses to be sick, oh, God make you feel better. I'm like, nah, man, you're tripping, So
God will make you feel better. So let me fast forward a bit. You grew up in a rough area. It was kind of mixed, a lot of gang stuff going on in that era out here on the West Coast. A lot of people don't know you were a hip hop executive.
Yeah. So
what was your transition and influence to get into hip hop? Was that the first thing that you were interested in, that you kind of delved into as a business?
Let's go even further before that. So there was the first major hip hop club, and I think, I'm not mistaken, 1983 was the year it opened. So in 83, I was 10 years old. I was sneaking into this place. It was called a Radiotron. And I was sneaking into this place. You were able to be, I think, 15 or something, but it was like to get kids off the street and breakdance. I went in there and I met Ice-T.
What?
And Ice-T was rapping, he was like a pimp too. And I idolized this dude because, growing up, you see him, people on the street, you're thinking, and this is before, there's no social media. Ice-T wasn't on TV like that, you know what I mean?
There was no Law and Order.
Rick Ross was not on TV. You know what I'm saying? Rick Ross, that's funny because you think about it, I'm talking to Ice-T right now, I'm doing a TV show right now with Ice-T, and he's like, anyone that's 21 years old, at 1 year's of age, all you know me as a cop.
Right.
You know what I mean? So going then, this dude is a real G.
Yeah, of course.
Freeway Rick Ross, the real Rick Ross, bro had Benzes and Ferraris, and this is I'm looking at this we have a fucked up Volvo. And I'm like, man, one day, I gotta get this life. So, I'm seeing these people on the street, I get to meet Ice, I'm breakdancing, and I'm into this whole thing, and I win a contest there. From there, me and Ice became cool, he kind of became my godfather.
Okay.
But there was a lot of gang shit going on, whatever. I always got into music. My brother was into Parliament Funkadelic, James Brown, and all the old shit, Earth, Wind and Fire, and then breakdancing came around.
Do you still know how to breakdance?
I can pop a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So, I was big into it, and there wasn't really a hip hop radio station. K-Day wasn't around then.
Okay.
It was alternative station, and they had this contest, and it said, hey man, come to the Santa Anita Mall, and of all people, it was this women's shoe store called 9 West.
Yeah.
And they had this contest with K-Rock, this dude named Poor Man, and I went out there, and there was a bunch of people coming out there, whatever, and I don't really have anything to go by except watching movies.
Right.
So this is 84 maybe, and I won the contest.
Wow.
So my thing was, I wanted to do, at my age, I was doing a lot of shit independent. Kids now, you won't even see a person have their kids out that are 13 out in the street.
Right.
Let alone at 12, I flew to New York to go meet Rocksteady Crew and all the breakdancers from Beach Street, because that was my dream.
So that was the prize? To win this contest, you got the contest.
Go to New York.
Went to New York.
And then breakdance, whatever, blah, blah. Back then, the style was the suede Pumas, the Nike windbreakers, you know what I'm saying? The Adidas, obviously, the warm-ups that are still popular now. And so I was always into shoes, fashion then, but music was always something big. I never wanted to be an actor or nothing. I just knew I wanted to fuck with music. Do you know what I'm saying?
So how did it get from the dancing to the actual music? What was your first job in music?
Well, technically a dude, by the way, his name is Rob One, he's a pioneer, LA hip hop pioneer. We had started a graffiti crew.
Okay.
And that graffiti crew became something else and then became big.
Okay.
And he put the turntables in my hands. This is around 1985.
Okay.
So 1985, I started getting turntables in my hands. I started learning how to mix and DJ stuff. And then another dude by the name of DJ Lethal, he was in a group called Limp Bizkit and House of Pain.
Wow,
gigantic bands.
So, I wonder how many of you guys remember some of these bands. Yeah, there we go.
You remember House of Pain?
There you go.
Jump around.
Limp Bizkit
was big.
my Fred Durst hat.
Yeah. So Lethal was the producer and the DJ.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So from there I was DJing, and there was a couple things that were going on. So I think my first real DJ gig, and my boy's in here somewhere. Terry is in here somewhere. Big Terry Heller, what's going on, man? Terry is a legend. His uncle is Jerry Heller, NWA, Ruthless Records.
Yeah, let's give records around the applause.
And I'll be honest with you, Terry is a very big inspiration to me because I grew up around Jews and blacks all my life. The Korean thing was a little weird because Koreans weren't listening to hip hop. They were listening to some shit I couldn't even tell you what it was. It was some,
It wasn't G-Dragon.
No, hell no. You know what I mean? So it was like just some other shit. So I was very attracted to the Jewish community with how they were shrewd with money and business and everything else. And then obviously, there was nothing but like Latinos and blacks around me.
Right.
Spanish was my first language before, Korean was my second, English was my third language growing up. And so anyways, going on, me and Terry used to go to this club called Ballistics. And Ballistics was my first DJ job. Another dude that was DJing there was Paul Stewart. Paul Stewart was the vice president, later on became the vice president of Def Jam. He created Coolio, Montel Jordan is how we do it. In fact, Montel Jordan on that song mentions him.
It's actually one of my
Sound
favorite
Central
records.
Cartel, just a bunch of stuff. Like you hear the song, he says, there was a DJ and Paul was his name, and that's Paul. So he ended up working with Ice Cube. And just a lot of legends came out of that one little spot.
And you were DJing there?
I was DJing there with Rob One.
Okay.
I was co-DJ.
Okay.
One of my best friends was running the club, and Dave Faustino, he's Bud Bundy from Married with Children.
Yes.
He was the co-owner of the club.
Okay.
So we're doing this, Terry's there, whatever. Terry's uncle's obviously a major player. We have Eazy-E coming into the club.
Okay.
Like, this place is heavy right now.
Why did they leave him out of Straight Outta Compton? He wasn't in it? Didn't get a cameo?
He's actually in a lawsuit. Anyway, so going on, every Friday night there'd be a battle. And it'll be this dude named Will 1X, and it'll be this dude X to the Z. Later on, he'd be Exhibit. Wow. And this is like, I think Exhibit was maybe 16 at the time. Whatever.
Wow, that's crazy.
And then Will 1X is actually Will I Am from the Black Eyed Peas.
So you're telling me you DJ'd at a club where Will I Am and Exhibit used to battle each other?
Am I lying? So they would battle each other, and on top of that, Tori Spelling would wait, and it was crazy because it was it wasn't like a bunch of thug dudes, it was like a bunch of hip hop people, and then like a bunch of white Beverly Hills girls there.
So basically this club was the first Instagram.
It was this shit. It was incredible.
Pretty good.
Brian Austin Green from 90210 used to go there, blah, blah. So that was my first gig. The thing is, I had to go to school.
Okay.
Remember, I had a really strict Korean dad. My mom was whooping ass. We got, it was different. You know what I mean? Like I have a hard time,
So you were DJing?
And
going to school?
No, so I ended up going to school on a scholarship. So I was gone for a little bit. But the crazy part was, if I could, I would drive from San Francisco to LA almost every single weekend. Just to get into whatever it may be. Okay. Because then there were other clubs called The Good Life, where Farside came out of. There was the hip hop room. There was a bunch of things that came out and spawned out of that. And
so you just mentioned you got a scholarship. A lot of people don't know you actually played sports.
Yeah. So in high school, I went to Fairfax, went to Beverly Hills High School. I made all city, all conference, all state. Didn't make all American. And
what sport?
Football and basketball.
Okay.
So you deal a lot of racism. First of all, I'm in hip hop, and there's nobody even white in hip hop. You gotta remember how unaccepted this was.
Right.
It was blacks and that was it. You know what I'm saying? Like there were some Puerto Ricans and Latino, but they're not really Puerto Ricans in LA. That's more like your area.
Right.
Or Dominicans and Colombians and stuff. Right. So playing ball, that was another thing. Playing ball, I got to meet people. A lot of these guys are a lot older now, you know what I mean? I played against Jason Kidd, I played against Harold Miner, who's not around, Curtis Conway, a couple cats, you know.
So you go to school, let's fast forward. First job in the record industry, aside from DJing. Okay, so you were a music executive, which is kind of where our paths link up a bit, right? Because I'm a Roc Nation representative. I come from that tree, and you're also very, very close, very integral in the original Roc-A-Fella family. So
part of the original Roc, yeah.
Right. So give me a little background about how you transitioned from DJing, and when was your first corporate, record position? Okay. Well,
real quick, there was a kid at my school. See, Beverly Hills High School, my dad put me there. We lived in a 600 square foot bedroom, 600 square foot single apartment. So there's no bedroom. Right. It was like the wall with the bed. And just so I can go to school in that district. Right. When I went there, I hated it because I was like, yo man, I don't want to go back to Koreatown. Like I don't like these rich kids. This ain't for me. It was embarrassing. Right. I take the bus or whatever. These kids are pulling up in Porsches. And one of the kids in my class, his name is James Purse. He has a very successful clothing brand.
You guys might have heard of that, right?
So James Purse would be in my class, and then like Monica Lewinsky, who sucked the president, you know, like, she was in my class. There was a bunch of people in my class. Lenny Kravitz went to my school.
People who were influential in history.
Big time. So there was a girl named Pilar Demand. Her dad is Freddie Demand. He was Madonna's manager.
Okay.
So this dude in my school, he was actually down with Ice-T, these people. He was a Jewish cat, but he was real slippery, and you know, he had scams. He was always selling fake IDs and things. I took a liking to dude.
Right.
And his name is Guy Osiri. And Guy is a fucking enormous person in the music business.
Okay.
And he told me, he said, Ben, don't go to school. You're tripping. I'm about to start this record label, and you know, we're 18, bro. He's like, I'm about to start this record label, about to get a job with Madonna. Tell your dad, run away. And I was like, I can't, dude. Like, you know what I mean? My dad will still try to knock me, you know, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, of course.
So going on, I went to school. He started this record label under Maverick with Madonna.
Okay.
You know, he has his first rap group. It doesn't do well. And low key, I'm hating. I'm like, yo, cool. You know what I mean? I want him to do well. And so after I finish school, towards the end, I come back to LA, hook up with my boys from Ballistic. I'm on Melrose. I see Denzel Washington on the street in front of 40 Acres and a Mule, Spike Lee's store.
Yeah.
And I see Denzel getting out of Porsche, and I gave him my mixtape. I was like, hey, listen, I heard you opening up a restaurant.
So you were pushing the mixtape.
Yeah. And I was, but this is when mixtapes were real mixtapes, where actually songs blended.
Yeah.
It wasn't like dude was trying to, people say mixtape is an album now.
Yeah, you didn't have a SoundCloud link to something.
Yeah, there's no SoundCloud, nothing like that. And the crazy part was, I knew Denzel Washington listened to hip hop.
Yeah.
And he goes, what do you want me to do with this?
Okay.
And I was like, you're opening a bar that's gonna serve food and have clients there.
Yeah.
Just give it a
Denzel
chance.
was.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was one of the owners, and I said, all you have to do is listen to this. And if it's whack, I will DJ for the entire year for free. And at that time, I was getting $100 a night. Me and DJ Homicide were eating AM/PM. Like we were couch surfing, we were broke.
Right.
You know. So a week later, Denzel's assistant calls me. She goes, you start booming this first night. First night I'm doing the first night I DJ, Queen Latifah walks in and she's having a party there. And she fucks with the music. And I'm like, yo, just let me handle the music, and I got it. There's half of the owners are white too though, and they on some rock shit.
Like, so you had to play some of that.
Yeah, so it was like a weird transition vibe, whatever. But Dr. Dre and Suge Knight started coming there a lot.
Okay.
And you would see Suge walk the door because he was a fucking big dude. Plus back then he was like really Debo. People were scared of this dude, right? So like I didn't really want to talk to Suge too much, you know. But I idolized Dre. You know, I used to go to the concerts and seeing him. So one night all the white owners weren't at the club.
Okay.
And it was a night that Jada Pinkett was having her birthday party there. And I was the DJ, so they can't hire a DJ, so I was there. And Jada Pinkett listened to house music.
Okay.
So she had some house dude come there, and we kind of punked this dude, like, yo, listen, you're gonna get 20 minutes, and after that, if you say anything to Jay, we're gonna fuck you. So we start playing music, and I see Dre gets there early. Who gets to a club bar at like 10 o'clock?
All right. Well, regular people.
Yeah, so I set the tone. I put all black exploitation films on the TVs and everything, right? And I start playing. I start at 70s funk, 80s. Then we in the 90s, so I get into it. And I go downstairs, because the DJ was at the booth. I go downstairs, I sit next to Dre on purpose. And I just act like I'm gonna order a drink. And Dre goes, yo, youngster, what the fuck you know about all that music, man? What's going on? And I was like, you know, it's nothing. I just, my brother, you know, pulled me up on game. He's like, okay. At the time, Dre had an artist named Sam Sneed, who was like their main producer, main artist. Sam was coming to the club a lot too, and he said, give me your phone number. So I gave him my pager number.
Your pager?
Yeah, that's what I had.
You guys know what that is?
So, you know, I had a pager, and you know, so this was the time with like, you know, boom. So I was driving with my boy who was working at Def Jam 2.
Okay.
And I said, I got a page, can I borrow your phone? So he gives me the brick phone.
He gives you like a big...
Yeah. So I call the phone, and he goes, Can-Am Studios. And he's like, that's Dr. Dre, homeboy. And I was like, oh shit. He goes, hey man, bring a crate of your best breaks and come to the studio tonight. And
when was this, more or less?
This was about 94, 95.
Okay, so it's like right in the thick.
I just finished school and everything, you know what I'm saying? So I'm DJing, I'm doing that, boom. So I get in, I go to Can-Am, and in the main studio, Daz, Corrupt, and all them, Dog Pound and Snooper in there, there's literally, I'm not bullshitting you, there might be 25 there's never a reason for more than 4 people in the studio.
Right.
There's like 25 people, there's pit bulls in there,
yeah.
And there's girls half naked.
That sounds like a good studio session to me.
Then there's one session with this dude named Scooby Doo and someone else, and then Dre had his quiet studio.
Okay.
And Sam.
Snoopy Doo?
Scooby Doo. His name was Stewart.
And then did that turn into Snoop Dogg or?
No, Stewart, he ended up being a Dre producer later,
Oh,
but I think he sells cars now, I don't know. So I go in the studio, we start working, blah, blah, whatever. And we start vibing.
Right.
And he's like, hey man, I need to talk to you. And Dre says, I don't know if I can put you here right now at Death Row.
Right.
And I didn't understand why.
Okay.
But he said, but I can get you a job with somebody.
You knew it was a volatile situation.
I didn't know, honestly.
Okay.
Because it was really, there's no social media, there's no rumors.
Well, I mean, you walk into a room and you see pit bulls and strippers and 40 guys.
But what I'm saying is,
it's not a regular record label.
Yeah. So Dre says,
I can connect you with somebody.
We'll connect you with somebody. So he connects me with his old CEO, Brian Turner. Brian Turner was the CEO of Priority Records. He signed NWA, Dr. Dre's first time, all that stuff.
For the people that don't know, Priority Records was the first label that gave Roc-A-Fella distribution. So Roc-A-Fella Records was an independent label that needed distribution and that nobody would sign them. Obviously, you guys know Jay is independent, has been independent forever, and always has partnered with companies, and Priority was the first to give him a distribution deal.
Yeah. So I meet with Brian, and Brian goes, all right, man, you know about music and stuff? Dre's a pretty big cosign, so I'm gonna give you a job as a manager. So A&R manager is like, it goes A&R manager, then you go A&R director.
So just clarify what A&R does for people.
A&R means artist and repertoire. So pretty much A&R is someone that's gonna mold someone from the beginning. I see somebody right here, he's rapping, and I'm like, all right, you got some dope, I can fuck with you. Check this out though, listen. I'm gonna get you with a producer, let's get in the studio, let's hear the vibe. Plus, I wanna try to get a whole artist and repertoire direction on how you dress and how everything goes. And basically, I'm not like really a manager, I'm really the person that's gonna mold you before you put this album out. Then when your second album comes out, I go oversee that as well and everything else. But
so also these guys also pick beats,
yeah,
put them with producers. These guys are kind of like coaches, right?
Yeah, but I was a manager, so there was like 3 dudes above me, and they would shit on me all day, like, yo, listen to this. And there was like a 200 gallon trash can with tapes in there.
Right, tapes.
And one of the tapes I pulled out, I bullshit you not, dude. Every one of these guys looked like fucking John Goodman with beard. They looked like they weren't even. It wasn't even rap. I was like, yo, and rap wasn't as big then. You know what I mean? There might have been 300 rappers in the world at that time.
Right. Well, Priority didn't have any hip hop acts.
But I'm talking about in general. There's maybe 9 billion rappers now. Okay.
Right.
So basically, I start figuring out, and this is what's important to you guys to understand. When you're in a situation where people have more knowledge than you, they got seniority over you, they're hating on you, and you're in jeopardy of losing your job every single day. I learned real quick. I said, Dre, what do I do? He said, shut the fuck up, pay attention where the money is, soak up every bit of knowledge. If you gotta steal, you gotta do whatever. Not like literally, but
yeah, he means
you gotta
be cunning.
So pretty much, I was a sneaky motherfucker.
Okay.
I would sit in the meetings because I'm the manager, so I gotta basically be with the A&R above me, who's the real dude signing the deals. And I'd sit there and listen to what he's talking about. I'm like, yo, man, you corny. Like in my brain, I'm like, you're fucking corny, bro. Like,
well, a lot of people in the industry at that time, of position of power, didn't understand the culture.
They didn't understand the culture, and then there's one dude, like, he listened, like, he just was so super. I love 80s. That's like my shit. I still listen to 80s, but he was like, I was like, bro, you don't even know rap. Like, how'd you get this job?
Right.
And I'm just sitting there thinking, all right, well, then I'm listening to some of the ideas he had about like marketing and certain things and beats, and I'm like, yo, this guy's terrible. So I immediately soaked up everything he had to say that was good, and I said, I'm gonna turn it on him. And no, it's terrible, but there's really no other way to do it. You have to kind of like, because like, if you're playing basketball and someone gives you the ball and you're sitting there looking for a shot, well, what the fuck are you doing, man? If you're open, shoot the ball. Don't even think about it, just shoot.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
by the way, he's a Lakers fan, so.
What I'm saying is some people are sitting there too long and they're thinking, why would you think you have the ball in your hands? Take the fucking destiny, man. You miss, all right, well, fuck it. At least you shot your shot, whatever it may be. So,
you took his approach, you kind of remixed it.
Let's just say in 2 years, I was able to fuck everyone above me up and have all their meetings fucked up and everything fucked up, and until I got my chance.
So, guys, fuck your bosses up and have a chance.
Pretty much.
So, how did the Roc
that's what I'm getting
connection
to right now. So what happened was pretty much at a certain point, all my life, at this time, I'm the youngest. See, people are doing things big at 18, 19. It was not really that type of world back then.
Right.
A&Rs were 38.
Right.
That's why Wu-Tang said, who's your A&R? you know, a mountain climber that plays an electric guitar. That was deep, you know what I'm saying? Like, there wasn't no hip hop then.
Right.
You know, I have this I'm sweating hip hop, it's in my blood veins.
Right.
So all my life, been arrested 3 times before I turned 18. You know, I don't fucking listen, I don't fuck with authority. You know, always did great on my tests, my SATs, everything. Homework, I was just never really that dude for school. It wasn't for me at all whatsoever, and I knew that. You know, I got my degree in cinematography. You know what I'm saying? I was a fucking PA. If anybody here has been a PA before, been a production assistant, I built a house. Dog, I built a house. You know what I'm talking about? I really built a fucking house. Like, I'm like, what does this guy do with movies?
Right.
Like, you know, like I was an assistant to Tia Carrera. She's the girl from Wayne's World, the Asian girl.
Yeah.
Like, dog, she sent me to her house to go get 2 aqua contact lenses. And I brought back some like blue ones, and she's like, nah, this ain't aqua. I'm like, man, for real? Like, that was the kind of shit that I would do. And I was like, listen, at a certain point, enough is enough. Like, I'm not hustling so that I can go get this Mercedes-Benz so far yet. I'm hustling so I don't have to take any orders from anybody else. I'm hustling because I want to change the game. I'm hustling and I'm doing everything as strategic as I can so that nobody else, even law or whatever, can tell me what to do.
Okay.
And if you go from back then to now, I see some of these same people. I'm the same dude. Nothing has changed me.
Right.
The money has never changed me. It's changed the people around me.
Right.
Okay? And I go there, I'm like, yo, listen, bro, I will still eat Spam and rice, man. I don't give a fuck, you know what I'm saying? I'll go to Wiener Schnitzel if my stomach
I like
can take
Spam and rice.
But, you know, like, I'm not tripping on that. It's just that these people now that were like, man, fuck Ben Yang, man, fuck Ben Baller. You know, they're like, oh, man, dog, that shit was dope. Sometimes I know it's dope.
Right.
Sometimes I know I telephoned a piece in.
Right.
And they're still jocking that. I'm like, all right, you know, cool, whatever. It is what it is.
So the Roc-A-Fella.
Going back into it, I was able to get these dudes that now basically had signed 3 groups, because I said, yo, those groups are dope.
Okay.
Now, mind you, I cost my boss money for them signing these groups.
Which groups were these? Just random groups you're saying?
Yeah, I feel bad saying I'm just...
Nah, let's not say them. You said random groups didn't...
They're rappers that had albums out, though.
Okay.
And I said, you should sign these.
Okay.
And then my boy, there was a really big song called Freak Like Me? Or Adina Howard.
Okay.
I Want to Freak in the Morning. What the fuck? It was an enormous song.
Okay.
She sold like 5 platinum. He had a chance to sign her.
Okay.
And I said, bro, you're gonna sign her? I was like, you tripping. I got so deep in his head, he didn't sign her. She got signed to Atlantic, went 5 times platinum.
So you took 2 L's back to back.
Yeah. And then he did other things, and then the other guy was already on his way out because he was, you know, like I said, he was like fucking like Seth Rogen. He was a clown, bro. I was like, man, dude, you don't know about hip hop. Then
Nothing against Seth Rogen.
the Freeze Records deal came in.
Okay.
And we had the first check said, hey Ben, listen to this, and don't tell anybody you had this. The album was damn near done.
Which album?
Reasonable Doubt.
Wow.
And I said, yo man, let me listen to this album. Now at the time, I'm a huge Biggie fan.
Okay.
You know, Ready to Die was crazy.
Right.
And I hear Brooklyn's Finest, and all I had to hear was one thing. He said, like, short sleeve, I bear arms. And I heard that, and then
Right.
Biggie's going back and forth. I was like, yo, listen, this is done. This is crazy. We gotta sign this.
Right.
And he goes, all right, well, it's gonna go through a P&D, which is a press and distribute deal. We'll do this, blah, blah, whatever. And basically, I stayed very close to that project.
Okay.
So I meet Damon Dash, I meet Biggs, I meet everybody. I got so damn deep into this project that my boss said, hey man, do you work for Priority or do you work for Roc-A-Fella Records?
Right. And what'd you say?
And I was like, I work for Priority, man. Come on, man. You know what's up.
But in your heart, you were Roc-A-Fella.
I was pretty rock, man. Me and
Right.
Biggs got really close. Me and Dame got really close. Me and Jay were not really close.
Right.
Now the thing about it was, I didn't think Jay was going to be huge.
A lot of people didn't.
I thought that this was going to be my project.
Right.
In.
So you helped develop the Roc-A-Fella system. That was like your real first arrival in the music industry.
On the second single, first single was
First
single was Ain't No, and then the B-side was, first single was Dead Presidents, the B-side was Ain't No. B-side, so if you guys know how the records, because these are actual records, right, albums.
They used to make music on vinyl.
So the A-side is usually your big song. B-side is not the big song. The A-side was Dead Presidents, B-side was Ain't No with Foxy Brown. The B-side ended up being the gigantic smash hit. By the time we're about to go into the second single with Mary J. Blige, they promoted me to vice president of the company. They knew
Okay.
immediately. So now I'm above the dudes. Those two dudes
So now you actually got the position you wanted.
Yeah, and I have 26 people under. Now, another thing too was, I signed my first R&B group. It was the first R&B group ever signed to Priority History. Now, my boss was very reluctant against it, but it was a Def Squad group, meaning Eric Sherman, Redman, and Keith Murray. That is like having the fucking
The Migos.
Young Thug, yeah, all the, it's huge, you know what I'm saying, at that time. So, not only was I an A&R, I was still a nightclub DJ, and on top of that, I was Keith Murray and Redman's tour DJ.
Okay.
So this is like an insane honor.
So you're doing a bunch of different things in music.
Yeah.
So let me
I'm trying to get my Diddy on.
Let me fast forward a bit. So you got a bunch of success in the music industry. You're A&Ring, you're vice president, you're DJing, you got respect on high levels. East Coast music, which is obviously kind of blossoming out here.
Yeah.
You're a West Coast guy, getting bi-coastal. One of the things that we have to touch on is like, how did that transition into you getting into the fashion of it? Were you always into sneakers? Because that's something that kind of just transitioned for you to be a lifestyle icon. When did that start? Was that from the beginning when you were wearing shell toes and?
This is from way back. I can remember the first day I got my Sky Forces. If you have Air Force Ones, if you're under a size 6.5, the kid's shoe was a Sky Force.
Okay.
So that was like 81 or 82, 82 I think. Yeah, 82 was an Air Force One. I had the Sky Forces, I played basketball in those.
Okay.
And then 85, I remember I was just big enough to get an Air Jordan. If you had the exact same shoe at size 6, it'd be a Sky Jordan. But the shoe is exactly the same.
Okay.
So I was into sneakers always for that and everything. In fact, when I was in the music business, my first year there, when I was still a manager, I would see Nike gifting all these celebrities, artists, shoes.
Right.
And Outkast just came out.
Okay.
So Andre 3000, Big Boy.
course.
And they had these shoes. They were the Air Turf Deion Sanders shoes.
Love those.
And I was like, I need these shoes. Like, I need these,
Yeah.
boom. So I've always been that dude. And I forgot to mention, I was working with Missy Elliott. She was doing a lot of writing for me. She wasn't even signed yet.
Yeah.
She had a group that she was signed under Teddy Riley and Jonas. It was called Sista, but she wasn't even huge yet. And I was trying to get her signed. We didn't have the money for her, and they didn't believe that she was going to be enormous. And later, yeah, she became fucking huge.
Huge.
So going on, I've always been into sneakers.
Right.
And there was a couple of dudes that were in their heads that were into sneakers. Dante Ross was into sneakers. Clark Kent was into sneakers, and Clark Kent was a producer on Reasonable Doubt. You know? So we were, I always kept that in there.
So was that one of your networking capabilities, that you connected with other people who had lifestyle extensions in the music industry? Like Clark Kent, like did you guys ever say, okay, well, this is where it's going. This is kind of like the next step of where this is going.
See, another thing too is it was a hobby. I never looked at it because back then you weren't really flipping shoes, you know what I'm saying? But again, just like sneakers today is haters.
Right.
So not a lot of us are really cool. Like back then you can see, oh yeah, the Air Jordan 3s came out? All right, let's go to Foot Locker and go get them. You can go to the store and legitimately get them.
Right.
Because people in their brain were like, yo, you're really gonna drop $100 on a pair of sneakers?
Right.
That was not, like they couldn't fathom that, you know?
Right.
But I was like, I don't give a fuck. You know?
So you started collecting from then?
Yeah.
So
I mean, a lot of my entrepreneurial advice was, Dr. Dre gave me my first big check. And Dr. Dre gave me a check, and it was like, our company was very small. Aftermath was like 13 people.
Okay.
And there was like 6 producers. And so 13 people, 12 people are black, and I'm the only Korean, or like Asian. So in the studio every day, you already know, it was Bruce Lee jokes and everything. And I gotta shoot the racist jokes back, because if I don't, I'm not gonna survive in there.
Right.
So Dre pulls me to the side all the time. I'm like, why you always pull me to the side? He goes, because you the golden child.
Yeah.
Remember that movie? He's like, you the golden child, bro. And he's like, yo, I have a question for you. First day I signed on, he bought every guy in their expedition, and every girl got to explore.
Okay.
And then he gave everyone, the check. And I was like, yo, I'm about to go to Sporty LA, I'm about to get mad kicks, and I'm about to go get a Rolex, I'm about to go get a BMW. And the first thing he says to me, he says, what are you gonna do with your money? I'm like, why are you asking me? Why don't you ask them? He goes, because they're dumbasses, and I expect them to be, it was real racist in a way, reverse racism to his own people. And he was like, I don't want you to be an N-word. And I was like, but I am an N-word, because I'm here with us, my boys, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's like, man, stop. He's like, Ben, it's easy to make $1 million in this business if you hot like you. It's real hard to keep $1 million though. It's really hard.
It's a gem.
So it's stuck in my head. And of course the next day I bought a Rolex and a BMW, you know what I mean? I came to the studio, and I remember I blocked Dr. Dre's space, and he was like, yo, whose car is that? He said, oh, it's Ben Yang's. He was like, he didn't speak to me for like the rest of the week.
So that was the end of his music career.
Yeah, pretty much with Dre,
So let's fast forward a bit. Let's get into something that everybody here obviously knows you for, the world knows you for, and kind of where me and you started connecting a little bit more. the jewelry business. This is a very, very different business. The jewelry business is something that is very hard to, one, break into, two, understand, three, market, because it's a luxury item. It's a high price point thing. So it's a 1% of the world. And you've been able to do something in the jewelry industry that most people have, which is kind of create a taste level. Your customer base, your clients, your connections, your pieces, you turn people down.
Yeah.
No jeweler turns people down. So how did you, what was the first thing? Because this is a family thing. You know, I know what
so people get, there's a lot of specifics let me get into real quick. So leaving the record business, one of the things was, one, the music business got me so disgusted. And I can't imagine it now, let alone then. I was so sick of it. And there was a DJ crew between me, DJ AM, and DJ Homicide. We were also a sneaker crew.
Of course.
They were still DJing. Homicide was killing it with Sugar Ray. He has fucking millions of records sold. He has the first mansion, and this dude was actually sharing, because we were broke together. So, you know, he was like, yo, man, you know why I always ask you why we should eat? And I was like, why? He goes, because we were always broke, man. And so I want to make sure we eat.
Yeah.
AM was fat, killing it, and then he became skinny AM, dating Nicole Richie, got engaged, TMZ, the whole nine.
Top sneaker collector also.
So all of us kind of came up on Nike Talk, and that's when the real culture came through. And this is what started jewelry. The whole thing, I was engaged for the first time in my life. And I thought my life was about to change, about to get married, blah, blah. But I became like a real fucking, because, you know, I never had anything before my entire life. When you're in the music business and you make $125,000, $200,000 as an executive vice president, you make, let's say you make 200 grand, okay? After taxes, you get about 110, 115,000, okay? So let's say I had 115,000, I spent 200 grand. So I was in the whole 85,000 each year because I had to have the Versace shirt. I had to have
this same Versace shirt.
You know what I'm saying?
By the way, this shirt, when we were in the back, I was looking at it. This shirt has a pretty interesting story. This is a very vintage shirt.
So yeah, I'll turn it into this story right here. I was basically, we had an expense account. So, you know, when I got my first expense account, I was like, all right, I'm gonna take someone to Cheesecake Factory. You know, that's like, oh yeah, who you take? Oh, I took Faith Evans in my group to Cheesecake Factory.
Right.
If you don't have a celebrity or someone of importance in your expense report, they're gonna decline your meal.
Right. So you were fake having dinners with everybody.
I was fake having dinners with a lot of people. Me and Terry might have had a meal, you know, whatever. So at a certain point, you know, I was like, yo, listen, I saw Tupac and them wear Versace.
Right.
And we're going to this convention called How Can I Be Down? This is like, you know, this is towards the end of everything. And I was like, yo man, like, is Versace expensive? Like, you know, that shit's fresh, like, you know, whatever. So Gianni Versace was still alive, then he was having parties at his house. And so I walked into a store in Ball Harbor and I saw the shirt. I was like, yo, I want to get this shirt. And it was $800 something. That's like $5,000 now, you know what I mean? I was like, yeah, so the Versateller, like, Versateller is an ATM card back then, because there wasn't really like a lot of ATM machines back then, like there is now.
No Apple Pay.
Yeah, no Apple Pay. So, you know, I bought the shirt, and this is probably one of the only things I've ever kept. 21 years. There's 21 years I've had this shirt.
Man, that's pretty wavy and cultural right there.
So, you know, I was always never saving money.
Right.
And it wasn't until I got to that point where I was getting engaged and everything else. I didn't want to be in the music business anymore. I had to figure out a way to what. So basically, what I was doing was I was flipping sneakers to make rent, to do what else.
Right.
More so, I was flipping sneakers to buy more sneakers.
Right.
You know, I had an obsession.
Nobody here does that, right?
And
nobody here buys sneakers.
Early on, if you see something, and it could be anything, it doesn't apply just to sneakers, it could be Pokemon, it could be t-shirts, it could be Supreme, it could be anything. You gotta remember, a lot of these companies weren't even around then. I was lucky to be around all these people, but I just saw something, and I saw a chance. There was a sneaker called the Nike SB Dunk, and the SB Dunk hadn't come out yet. And I had word from a few people, because I had a skate background, that these sneakers were only released at skate shops, and I knew all the skate shops in LA. Now, the typical fucking sneakerhead is not going to a skate shop.
Right.
So pretty much, I had got about 3 people who had higher credit card limits, and we cleaned out from all the way from San Francisco all the way to San Diego.
All the SBs.
40% of the entire stock of all SBs in the world.
Wow.
And then I posted on Nike Talk, and I was the first person to put stockroom pics. It looked like a stockroom. So I posted a picture, people were like, yo, what the fuck is that, a store? And I was like, nah, man. And they're like, yo, man, sell me a pair, stop being like that. I was like, I ain't selling you shit. So pretty much at that point, I controlled a majority of all the inventory in the world. And it wasn't
basically like, you were the first hype beast.
Yeah, pretty much.
Thanks, man.
So these shoes were $60.
Right.
Right? And I said, I'm gonna hold on for a while. And then people are like, yo, I don't know if you should hold on to it, you know, you don't know. And then people started seeing like the
What was one of the biggest ones?
It was Danny Supa. It was the Supas.
Okay.
They were the New York Knicks colors.
Yeah, of course.
So New Yorkers were like, yo, Supas, boom. And you know, they were comfortable, they had extra cushion. So I started seeing them sell for $250. My boy's like, yeah, that's 400%, profit. I was like, nah, man, they're gonna go up. And then they went up to like 400 or 500.
Right.
And I said, all right, fuck this. I dumped all my pairs, and a part of it was I was smart. I dumped about 15% of my stock here in America. The rest went to Japan.
Okay.
That way, it makes it even more difficult for people here to buy them and rise the price up.
Right.
Anyways, going on, I started working with Nike. I got real sick of Nike in the corporate world and all that, because again, even though I was kind of doing well, they're a multi-billion-dollar company, and they were telling me how I should dress. I couldn't wear polo to the office anymore. Polo's technically a competitor to Nike. It was just all kinds of shit.
Of course.
We don't say the word party, Ben Yang, we say the word event. And I was like,
Yeah.
man, fuck out of here. Like, I can't have this. So at that point, I put a bad taste in my mouth. I was doing a collaboration with them. We were doing a Terminator shoe. And I just got into a real bad fight, and I just felt like, you know what, a lot was going on in my life, and I said, listen, fuck sneakers and fuck all this shit. I'm about to get married, I'm about to have a family, like fuck everybody. This is stupid. So basically for about 3 months, I started teasing all my sneakers I was gonna sell. And I went on eBay, and in a week, people were looking at views. It was kind of like YouTube or like
Right.
Instagram or whatever. I think Friendster was around then, MySpace was around too, and they were looking at the views, they're looking at how many people were viewing the auction.
Right.
At that time, the auction was crazy and it kept going up and up and up. They're like, yo, this is insane. At the end of the day, I just made right around just over $2 million on my sneakers.
Wow.
Never ever had $100,000 to my name ever.
So you ended up selling all your backstock sneakers.
Everything, and it took forever to sell, to ship everything and do all that
Right.
stuff, right? So we do it, and the first thing I do is I go buy a Ferrari, and then I drive right back to my old neighborhood.
Talk about learning your lesson.
But no, I had it because at that time I was saving.
Right.
Like for the first time in my life,
But you didn't have an actual job.
No, I was DJing, and then I stopped DJing because at a certain point, I was coming to the club with an Xbox and playing, and I pre-recorded my mix. And then the club owner was like, yo, you're fucking fired. Like, what are you doing? Like, you're not even playing. Like, I was even pre-recording my shout-outs because I knew who would be in the club.
So you're over here playing Grand Theft Auto, and they're giving you like 600 a night or whatever.
So anyway, selling my sneakers and everything else, I had to figure out what I was gonna do. At that point, my wife, my fiance was like, you've turned she was a huge model at the time, like an enormous model. And she had a bunch of billboards, and in a way, I thought I was a shit, but she was actually a very big deal. But she was very humble about it. And she felt like I was distracted with the money and everything else and what to do, so we traveled, and eventually just things didn't work out within that year.
Okay.
So we broke off the engagement, and I was sitting here thinking like, yo, if I don't figure out what I'm gonna do,
You're gonna have a structure.
Yeah, I'm gonna have, so my cousin, he used to come visit me at Aftermath, and he'd tell Dr. Dre, let me make some Aftermath pens, let me make some of this, and he would always tell me, he was trying to hustle.
Your cousin was a jeweler.
Cousin was a jeweler, my uncle was a jeweler, and my uncle was kind of on his way out, but he saw opportunity. He's like, hey, why don't you sell jewelry with us?
Okay.
And I was like, all right, I spent a lot of my money.
On jewelry.
Yeah. No, I spent a lot of my money from the money I made from sneakers.
Oh, gotcha.
So I was like, what I was gonna do was I was about to work for Terry. Terry owned a sneaker store in Fred Siegel called Conveyor.
I know Conveyor.
Yeah, and he owned that store, and he's very smart. This dude flipped buildings. This dude is literally one of the smartest moguls I know.
Okay.
So
you hiring?
always.
Very cool.
So
hey guys, Terry's right here in the great.
He owns an amazing restaurant called Plan Check now. There are a bunch of Plan Checks around, a great burger place. So he just always had real estate and everything unlocked, and I was like, I gotta figure something out. And I missed the real estate wave a little bit. So
your cousin.
my cousin
like,
says,
man,
listen, we gotta do this. And I talked to an attorney, because everything's gotta be legal. Everything Korean-wise is handshakes. And it's real important now. I don't give a fuck how close you are with someone. It could be your sister, it could be your brother. If you do not have a contract, and even with the contract, people are still getting fucked. But if you have no contract, I know a verbal commitment is admissible in court, but it's like really,
it's hard to beat.
if it's family, you gotta make sure that you really focus on having your contract. Do you know what I mean? Having that done is important. If I didn't have that contract, I might have been screwed out of my situation. Now, not speaking bad on my cousin, but I was able to push my uncle out of the business, nothing personal, it was a
Right.
business move.
So you and your cousin, how did you guys start? Because how did you learn jewelry? Jewelry's not.
Well, that's
easy,
another
right?
thing too. So I came and I know nothing about jewelry except that I know what I like. I sold my uncle a piece. I said, "Can you make this?" And it was a Jacob piece.
Okay, yeah, Jacob the jeweler, by the way,
Yeah,
is
he was a
pioneer
legend.
jeweler.
He was my idol. And my uncle said, "You kidding me? I can make this easily." You know what I'm saying? I was like, "Are you sure?"
Yeah.
I was just showing me an example, and he was like 80%. I was like, that's gonna be good enough because I got a good mouthpiece. Now, mind you, I'm entering a total business that's not music, that's not sneakers or anything else. It's a totally different business. And it's controlled by wealthy people. It's not like it's a,
Yeah, it's
I'm not talking
1%.
about costume
It's a
jewelry.
luxury. Yeah.
It's a luxury, it's not a necessity. So I told them, I said, listen, do you guys have any kind of ownership contracts or any kind of corporation shit? They're like, no, man, their jewelry, my uncle's company was called Tiffany Jewelry. I'm like, how the fuck do you have Tiffany Jewelry? Like, and he had like turquoise boxes that looked like Tiffany colors.
So he was basically like
straight up McDowell's.
Yeah.
Just knocked them
Amazing.
off. So I came in like an A&R.
You added
and I said,
some
listen,
infrastructure.
I don't want to be in this booth. Let's go to this booth.
And you guys were located at the famous.
And the Slauson Swap Meet, the worst place in the world. You know what I mean?
And you guys
I
are
said,
still there.
Yeah, well, technically, yeah. We started construction at Beverly Center. My new store is opening November 1st or November, first week of November.
For all you jewelry buyers.
We'll be migrating out of there. And you know, at a certain point, what it got to was, I said, I want to be able to put $1.5 million into this business, and I'll match you guys.
Okay.
And they were like, no, you don't have to put any money. We'll give you 50-50. Just the way Korean things work, you know, family, it gets real ugly. Some of the biggest disputes in my family are through money.
Right.
You know? Don't ever loan anybody any money because, you know, or don't, you know, because you're just not going to get it back. It's like, just give it to them.
So how did you learn it? Like, did they teach you the ropes? Like, what was it? Because jewelry is very precise,
very
especially
difficult.
the level of jewelry you make.
So at a certain point, for about 3 hours a day for about 10 months, I went and learned goldsmithing, casting, fucking diamond setting, everything all the way through. And I knew at that point, for me to even get next to Jacob, I had to like, because you have to set a goal at a certain point. You know, if you're a basketball player, you gotta look at LeBron and be like, all right, how do I get to that level? All right, you study certain things. At a certain point though, if you're not naturally gifted, then you can't be 5'2" and be like, I want to be LeBron. I mean, it's possible, but it's gonna be fucking tough.
So I mean, we've worked on jewelry together. We recently just made J Balvin's Murakami piece.
Yeah.
You know, we've done stuff. You've done stuff for Pusha.
Yeah.
How was you? You know, you've made stuff for Michael Jackson. How did you start? Did you use your same network of people from the music industry, or what was your first big jewelry client?
So, a buddy of mine, Mark Sudak, he's a friend of mine from the crew. We just were cool. Somehow, some way, all of us were hustlers. Like all of us can kind of like do deals. Like my boy owned One Oak and Butter and all these places. He was supermodels. You know what I'm saying? Always around. All the dudes in my crew were schemers. Mark was just a smart dude, and he started dating Mariah Carey.
Okay.
And then he also was executive producer of her album. I hit Mark up. I said, "Hey, bro, I just started a business, man. Is there any way you can get me to like make Mariah Carey a piece, blah blah whatever?" And he was like, "Yeah, come on, man, I got you." That was one.
That was the first one.
Number two, the clips, Pusha and Malice.
Which piece did you do? Did you do the clips?
I did the clips. I did the official
logo?
clips piece. Yeah. And then I just started building up things. Go to Michael Jackson. He was managed by a guy named Tomei. Tomei is like scary Sopranos type dude. Like I don't really want to say too much about it, but he basically bankrolled.
Yeah, let's not get tied up, man.
Yeah,
so this guy
so he bought Michael Jackson's debt and became
kidnapped.
his manager.
Right.
And so I was like, "Hey, bro, I want to make Michael Jackson a piece."
Okay. And
he goes, "Michael loves jewelry." And I was like, "Bro, all I need is the introduction." And he goes, "Yeah, I mean, Michael at that point, like any enormous celebrity, they're not just to go to anybody. It has to be someone they trust."
Right, of course.
So he said, "Oh, this guy's doing pieces for like some hip hop people, blah blah whatever." And I was like, "No, don't say that. Don't say that. Like, try to make it like I'm making cool jewelry."
Yeah. You wanted the top level intro, right?
So I gotta take my glasses off of this because I lied to him.
You lied to Michael Jackson?
Yeah, I was like, "Yo, man, I can do anything you want." By the way, when I first met him, it was crazy because we met at a cafe in Brentwood, and this is fucking Mike, dog. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm starstruck with no.
Did he have the glove on?
No. So he had a sweatsuit on, and we're sitting there
with the buttons.
And it's like here, and here's Mike. Mike is sitting where that camera is,
okay,
and he won't speak to me. He's speaking to his manager to tell me. He said, "Can you tell him that I want blue?" And I was like.
He didn't say it like that though. He said, "Can you tell him that?"
But I was really bummed out. You know what I mean? I was bummed out. I was like, "Wow, dude."
You don't even want to talk to him.
And then I thought about it, and I really put it in perspective. I said, if there's fucking anybody who could be fucking crazy or be weird,
it's Michael Jackson.
It's got to be him, of course.
So what did you make it?
So I accepted it. First thing we did was a brooch. It was this Michael Jackson logo with a unicorn and red rubies, canary diamonds, all sort of stuff. And I made it, and he didn't like it. And the crazy thing is, I was already into it for 30 grand. He's like, "I don't care, I'm not paying you, I don't want it." And I was like, "No, you gotta be fucking kidding me." So we fixed it, we finally made it, it was cool. And he goes, all right, I want to get this belt buckle and blah, blah, whatever.
So he wasn't making like traditional jewelry, he was making belts and brooches.
Brooches, belt buckles. He made, I did a bandana and I was like, yo, you do realize if we stitch, my mom was a dress contractor. Right. She was retired and I was like, hey mom, is there a way we could do this? And she goes, yeah, the rhinestones. I was like, no, with real diamonds. And she's like, why would you want to do that? You're gonna just...
It's Michael Jackson, Mom.
Michael Jackson. So we did like bandanas and stuff, we did a bunch of stuff.
So I mean, again, the jewelry is what you're so known for. You make some of the biggest, best pieces in the industry. So many artists have worked for you, for Drake, Mariah Carey, like you said, every artist. But you actually turned down a lot of people. Yeah. One of the things that stood out to me and you know, that got you as a cultural icon to me was some of your best pieces went to the legendary Jonas.
Oh yeah, man.
You know, it's one of your closest friends. You know, one of the hardest losses that streetwear has ever had to take. Jonas from LRG, who I think top 5 jewelry of all time.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So tell me a little bit about how you and Jonas's relationship transitioned into. I know this can take us all day, but give me a concise version of how you guys transitioned into doing stuff for LRG, you working with, you know, Diamond, and that kind of was your foray into streetwear, because Jonas was jewelry king.
I mean, Jonas was jewelry king. I met him at the Sound Bombing 3 like mixtape thing, and I saw this little Asian dude. You know, with Asian people, we have competition. People think that everyone, like Asians hate on each other, but we stick together, but there's like, if you get to a certain level where like some dude pulls up in a Ferrari, I'm like, man, that's just a 2014, that's just a 2017, man, come on. You know, we low-key hate each other.
Yeah.
So he had like a chain he had got made, and I seen it, and I met him, and I was like, yo, what's good? I seen him, you know, but I was like, that chain's cool, that shit kind of garbage though, I'll make you a better one. And he was like, how the fuck you
Man, this guy's rich. He's
like
how
you
you
know,
got
I'm like, yeah, you come to my shoot, but we ended up building a relationship, and I started realizing how much of a visionary this dude was, and how much he was Nego, and how much he was just so, I mean, this dude really had the urban streetwear gap of the world. He really brought the next Ralph Lauren, like, you know, to the hood,
right,
to the streets. Anyways, we started making some amazing jewelry. He makes the Forbes list. I'm the real Forbes, you know what I'm saying? He was doing his thing, and you know, he's partying out of control. He had everything else in order except the personal life, and you know.
And you guys were like really out here. I mean, if you guys remember this era of streetwear, you know, I see a lot of young faces in the crowd.
Yeah, no, we were acting retarded.
This era of streetwear was really the beginning when brands like LRG, you know, 10 Deep, the Hundreds, these guys were all kind of coming up at the time.
We took out Bape at the time. That's how big we were. Yeah. We took out Bape. We took Bathing Ape. We don't want to wear Bathing Ape anymore. They were wearing LRG.
So LRG also broke a lot of artists. Like Kanye was in his first ad in an LRG ad. Wale was in an LRG ad.
Drake.
All these.
I put Drake in there.
Right. So all these LRG ads kind of pushed fashion, and Jonas was stunting to the max.
Yeah. I mean, he was a legend, and you know, just at a certain point, you know, he calculated how much he had to make to become a billionaire.
He knew how much he had to make a day type.
And I was like, yo, bro, like, fuck this, man. Let's live life.
Right.
He goes, we're living. And I'm like, no, man, you're stressing about becoming a billionaire when you're missing out on all the fucking other shit. Like, you have a kid. That's my dream to have a kid, you know? Like, I say this today, if I didn't have children, I probably wouldn't be as successful as I am right now, because I'm so stressed out about how much money I gotta make to make sure that they're okay until they're at least, I'm gonna give them to at least 20. After 20, if they can't make money after that, then too fucking bad, man, you know?
So all right, let's, so LRG, right.
So I kindly, respectfully declined.
And then you started doing so much other stuff.
And I walked away and I said, listen, I told Nick Diamond, I said, hey bro, we need to fucking figure something out with Diamond, because you've been sitting at this $2 to $5 million mark a year in retail. I think we can take this to another level. I can't take all the responsibility, or even a lot of it. There's this dude named Brock that worked for Diamond.
You guys know Brock? He's now Kendrick Lamar's A&R. He's very, very big and influential in the music and fashion industry.
He was a very, very big part of why Diamond blew up as well. Obviously, Nick had a great brand, and you know, the skateboarding thing became big. Lil Wayne was skateboarding, and we decided to transition. How do we get this in there? Rick Ross did a small collaboration, and Rick Ross started wearing it in the videos.
Right.
People just started coming in. I started coming in. I'm good at, like, when I start seeing a link on momentum, I'm gonna fucking push it. Everyone push. You know, push.
So you started doing collabs, right?
Started doing collabs, like all Diamond and stuff and everything, and we just started killing it. You know, we jumped from 5 mil. The next year we did 21 mil. The next year we did like 60. The next year we did 100. And it was like we just kept, dog. It was insane.
In that same token, you also did your own shoe.
I did my own shoe, and then I also had my company IF & Co. And we're co-branded because think about it, Diamond Supply Co. Diamonds. Now I'm a jeweler.
Perfect.
So it made sense. I was doing these in stores, and I'd have 500-600 people meet up at the stores in Arizona and like fucking Sacramento, whatever. And you know, to this day, everything I've done in my life, Nick Diamond's the only person that ever, he wrote me the biggest checks I ever had in my entire life. He gifted me a Ferrari after my second collab.
Wow.
He was like, boom, and I was like, did you lease this? He was like, dog, the pink slip is in the glove compartment. And I remember when I got it, it was like 2013, I was like, yo man, it's a 2011 Ferrari. He was like, are you fucking, I was like, I'm just playing with you, man. And then my wife didn't believe me, you know, she was like, fuck you, you bought this, you're fucking, I'm so sick of you guys lying to me about your money. I was like, no, I swear to God. So, you know, we just figured out, you know, I figured out like, all right, listen, you know, people are always like, hey man, Ben, you dress like a kid, you know, dress like the, no, really at the end of the day, it's just my culture, it's how I grew up, you know, I was always the dude in the white tee, like I grew up in the streets, you know, and so I was more like, all right, let me dress my wage. And going back, when I was DJing at some places, I remember people, they used to have dress codes at nightclubs.
Right.
Like, you know, where I was like, yo, I wear a suit now, and it's cool.
Yeah.
But I felt corny being that way.
Right.
You know, going into this, it all coincides with each other. You know, JCK is the biggest jewelry convention on the earth. You're talking about there's maybe over $1 billion in jewelry in the upstairs luxury division.
Right.
These are like, these are people that look at me like I'm a peon,
right.
You know? And it's just such a huge show. It's in Hong Kong and Vegas, and it's such a big show.
And you go dressed like this?
Yeah, for the most part. You know, for the first few times I was dressed up in a suit, but not really like a tie. And I spoke last year at it. And then this year, you know, I think there's 313,000 jewelers were submitted for Jeweler of the Year.
Wow.
And you know, and this year I won, bro.
Wow. Let's give him a round of applause.
So I go in Vegas, and I go in there, and the rep comes over there to walk me from my hotel room. She walks from my suite, and they got security and everything. And I'm wearing a Dior suit. Like I look clean, bro. Like you know, I actually shaved everything, and you know, I didn't. And she was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Who are you talking to?" I was like, "What do you mean? This is a fucking $5,000 Dior suit.
Yeah.
I don't look good." And she's like, "Oh my God." She's like, "All right, hold on." She's like on the phone, blah, blah, whatever. And she's like, "You got to go back upstairs and put on your streetwear clothes." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "One of the reasons why you won was because you completely, for the first time, opened an entire lane of unorthodox jewelers who don't wear suits or don't even wear a button up.
They wanted you to represent the
like
culture.
Flawless and a bunch of people who are just wearing your dress.
Right.
Like, you came out here, you went completely against the odds of people that go to Cartier or Harry Winston or Van Cleef, and you started this own lane, you did your own thing by your own rules, you started this custom jewelry thing, you kept it mostly clean, you kept it with your heritage, you kept it true, and you did it wearing a t-shirt and like skinny jeans."
Wow,
And so I went upstairs and grabbed my shit and went back down with chains on, you know.
So, you know, we've gone through your music industry, your background, the jewelry, the fashion, you know, some of your new ventures now. Have you guys been by the VVS pens? You're in the VVS pens. Give me a quick info about what that is.
Saying, please wrap it up. Real quick, I just basically now, with seeing my kids and seeing what tuition costs and certain things, it's like, you know, I wish, my wife is really chill. She doesn't post bags or anything online, she's just really chill. So like when I see this, I'm like, all right, listen, I have a certain lifestyle I gotta maintain just for my own self. Other than that, I'm pretty chill, right? But mortgage, this shit, it all adds up.
Right.
And before, and it's like people are like, oh man, you don't have to say this shit. I just do so people can kind of understand that I lived in a place that was fucking $300 a month for rent.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? To where I'm at now. Before my sons can have their chicken nuggets, before anything, I have to make $47,000 a month to break my bills.
Wow.
Okay? And I do that. Every month I have to have a certain amount of money to do that. And you know, that stresses me the fuck out. So I put cushions out there.
Right.
I have an accountant, but my accountant doesn't keep my numbers. My numbers are kept in front of me. Even if it's like, all right, I have $1,362 in my pocket on July 15th.
Right.
On the 17th, I see where my pocket was at that time, where it came from. I'm updating all the time, so I was just cautious of it. So with that said, I'm always worried about just their future.
Right.
I saw an opportunity in cannabis. I saw that Prop 65 was going up. I saw that we're about to be a recreation state.
Right.
I saw what other states were doing. I saw where money was going, and I just saw this early. Even though people were making money on the streets with weed, it's different because it's legal.
Of course.
I developed a company called VVS Pens. We're a cannabis pen company. I saw a buddy of mine had a pen, and I said, hey, listen, where do you get it manufactured? Instead of being a backstabber and being a piece of shit, I said,
for once,
would you want to produce my pen? Do you know what I mean? And if you do, I'd make you an equal partner
right.
if you could just produce my pens.
Right.
And as things went, we started developing, why can't we use the same cannabis oil? Because the thickness, we just, basically, I'm a detailed person from jewelry and everything. Perfected it. But I wasn't making this for guys who were like 18 years old, going to college, living in a dorm, being like, oh man, I'm struggling, I need some weed. This was more for like the upper echelon.
Right.
Yeah, the classy, you know, I made a yellow gold pen, a rose gold pen. It looks classy, it looks like makeup, it's discreet. So some people don't accept weed still, they think it's a drug, they don't know if it's medicine.
So this is one of like your newest ventures?
One of my newest ventures. It took a year to develop this pen, and now we have the pen, and I'm moving approximately $3 million in pens a month.
Wow, that's crazy.
You know what I mean? And it's all legit. I'm not trying, like, anyone has a problem with it, bring it back, I give you your money back. It's not, there's no gimmick.
Right.
That's one thing. People say like, oh man, Ben's a fraud, or oh, Ben's fronting, or Ben's renting cars. Man, bro, I'm 44, you know what I mean? I've been in the game for a minute. I've been through every other Friendster, MySpace, Facebook, like, someone would have been outed me like with real hardcore, you know, it's just, I just keep it pushing, and I don't listen to anybody. Sometimes people focus too much on anything. Man, if you have any kind, like you can have a heart, but if you're too sensitive to haters and people telling you what to do, at a certain point, you ask 5 people, what should I do? And they all have an opinion.
Right.
And it's like, you could take a little bit of that, but if ideally, you can't just take charge and figure out what the fuck you want to do, you're going to do it. And I knew this was going to be a lucrative business for me, and it's doing well, and we're going to keep evolving into other things.
So, you know, just to wrap it up here, you get a lot of hate for you in the social media world, but we know that's not a real world. We know you're a beacon of the culture. A lot of people respect you. You know, you've done so much. You inspire me, you inspire a bunch of other people. If there's one thing, one piece of advice that you can give everybody in this room as far as going through adversity, wanting to do multiple things that you really love as a passion, what would that advice be to get to that level, to get to where you are? That one piece that just kind of resonated with you always and you kept on. What would that be?
Man, dude. See, you know, we're supposed to prepare for all this shit. He decided to hit me with the organic questions and like, and fuck me up, so I had no idea. Truly,
but it's gonna be the best answer because I know it comes from your heart. So
no, I mean, there's really no, like, some people are always like, you should write a book, you should do something. That's not me. I'm not a multi-lobe. I'm not.
But I know that there's something that you stood true to, and what was that? You know, what was that one thing that you just stood true to?
Man, you know, I think, I mean, one, it was just something like, listen, if I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna be the best at it. So people are looking at like, okay, well listen, I wanna be a billionaire. Well, that's not everyone's goals. Do you know what I'm saying? I look at it like, in everything I did, I want to be the best at that. So let's say, for instance, I look at like, I was the first Asian American in my entire university's history to play ball.
Right.
I wanted to at least hit that goal. Then I opened a lane now for Koreans or Chinese or Vietnamese or anyone that's Asian to play ball or have a chance.
Right.
Before Jeremy Lin was playing in the league or whatever. And I said, listen, I always took it as, I worked at Subway, I worked at Burger King, you know, I worked at fucking Warehouse Records, you know, whatever.
Right.
I'm saying, if you're going to take a job and you're gonna show up to work, you might as well do your job. Like, why the fuck are you gonna go to work if you're gonna do your job? If you hate it or not, okay? If you're gonna be a trash man, if I was gonna become a trash man in sanitation, I'm gonna be the best I'm gonna be the president of all sanitation trash men.
Yeah, to clean the streets.
I wanna be the best at it.
Right.
And you gotta do research. You gotta have marketing, you gotta have gimmick. And you obviously, you know, you have to have some kind of an angle. So with everything I've done, whether it be music, you know, with DJing, I wasn't the best DJ in the world, but I knew where I could get in, where I can freak it. I knew how to get people excited.
Right.
You know, maybe that's something that not everyone has, but everyone can have drive. I don't care how, a lot of people are quiet, some people aren't confrontational. I see people talk shit all the time, like, man, I'll fuck this dude up. And then I meet him in person, and he's like, I was like, yo, why'd you let that guy talk to you like that? He's like, oh no, man, you know, people are just not, people have to just let go of your fears, man, let go of any of the sensitivity, and you gotta take a chance, because at a certain point, you're gonna be 50, and what the fuck are you gonna do? You're gonna be working out, I'm not dissing anybody who works at McDonald's, but it's like, yo man, at a certain point, you gotta try to evolve every year just a little bit.
Right.
If I could be better today than I was yesterday, could. Tomorrow, I'm trying to be better than I was today.
Right.
Every day, I'm trying to grow somehow, some way. And with that said, I'm always trying to be the best at what I do. So if he works at, you know, H&M, at a certain point, and it's possible he could be a salesperson, why can't he be the vice president of the company in 3 years, of the corporation?
Right.
There's some way to get in. You just have to figure out where your lane is, where your strengths are. You know, where, you know, if you have attributes, man, fucking embrace those.
Right.
You know, and take them. I always felt like I gotta be the best at what I do. So if I want to do the pen, I want to have the best pens. All right, I fucked up here. All right, let's make it better.
Right.
And you just gotta and you gotta admit your faults.
So you're saying basically, whatever it is that you do, try to do it to the max.
But beyond that, you know what I mean? Like, don't go, why would you go about things halfway, you know what I mean, or half-ass or anything? If you're gonna invest in something, like, you know, someone's like, hey man, I'm gonna start a sneaker store.
Right.
Like, you don't know shit about sneakers, why the fuck would you start a sneaker store?
Right.
You know? I'm just saying in general, if there's one idea I could give to somebody, it's like, if you're gonna come to work, you're gonna show up, do your job, man.
Right.
And not just show up, man, show out.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, why go out there? Like, it just, there's so many players in the NBA. I look at this is my perfect example. Think of all these guys. They're the best guys that were in the high school, best guys in college. Then they made the pros, and some guys don't shine, some do.
Right.
All it takes is one person to hit that shot. All it took was Dwayne Wade was at a Division III college. You just get that chance. All of these guys have it in them to go do it. Sometimes there's politics holding you back. All right, figure out what that is.
Right.
That's a little different, I know, but I'm saying in general, everyone has that. They're all talented.
Right.
Everyone in this room has talent. Everyone in this room has a chance to make money. It's not about money always. You know, I'm comfortable. I'm all right. I'm not trying to be a billionaire.
Right.
I just want to make sure that my family can eat and we're good. So really, at the end of the day, if you become too greedy, it's just gonna bite you in the ass.
So
you know?
you guys got it straight from Ben Baller. Let's give him a round of applause. I wanted to give you a gift. You know, I'm a part of the Buchanan's family now. This is a special reserve whiskey because what you guys don't know is actually on a secret. I know you have an announcement. You want to tell them?
Yeah, to wrap everything up, man, thank you very much. Damn, 18 year too, this is good shit.
Yeah.
I posted a picture on my Instagram and I was in Okinawa, Japan. And there's one other thing too, real quick. You know, I surround myself around people who are successful. And people say, oh, it's not a gold digger or like a social climber. You find somebody, and if you really connect with that person, you know, you want to be around people who are successful. Why would you want to be around people who are broke or be around people who have no motivation or who are lazy? And a lot of people who are really smart are lazy because they feel like they can get away with certain things. But I met a friend of mine who actually, he wanted to meet me, and his son was a fan of mine, and I asked him about something, and we just tried to figure out what we were going to do next. And so we started a whiskey company about a year ago. It's a Japanese whiskey brand. Japanese whiskey is really hot right now. It's another thing I'm trying to venture into. And we launched at the end of this year. It's called Iwao, which means celebration in Japanese. And that's my newest, latest venture that we're working on right now. And I've been very slow about things because, you know, I've been trying to do everything organically and slow. If you know this era right now with these kids, millennials, and I'm not trying to speak bad, but it's like everyone's in this microwave era. They want everything fast. And you already know microwave food is not going to taste anywhere near as good as food that's been cooked, stirred slowly and stuff. So I'm trying to be, and I'm not patient at all. I'm the most impatient person in the world. I'm trying to be as patient as possible and let everything here blossom and season and develop. And so this means a lot to me. But yeah, I'll speak more about that whiskey brand. I'm sure somewhere if you guys follow me.
But guys, let's give a round of applause.
Thank you guys.